you doing? I'm a little late because I was looking at something interesting, so don't hate me because actually I think it's pretty cool and you might like it. Let me try and get set up here. How's everyone doing? La, 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 la. So I'm distracted. I was grind mode, so I'm all low key and muted and stuff. Apologies. Let me see. All right, I think we're good, right? That's normally what things look like. All right. No one reminded me I was meant to be online, so it's all your fault, really. Let me see. All right. So, how you doing? I've been doing a lot of stuff, so bear with me while I try and remember the things I wanted to tell you about. Let's start here, shall we? So I've been doing some conference stuff. Anyone here? 26 people. Oh, hey, sorry, just a nerd talking about numbers. You might want to leave. I don't know. I was walking around yesterday thinking, why don't I do something about adjustments for yards per team pass attempt? I keep saying how we should, but I didn't. Right. Okay, let's start. The way I adjust, or the way I produce Dominator over average, for example, it's an age-adjusted stat, is looking at the average market share that a player obtains or creates or whatever at each age on average for successful players, and then comparing prospects to it. So you're essentially comparing it to the average hit in the NFL. Can't really do that with the yards per team pass attempt, especially because I was more interested in conference right now. And, it's largely affected by the amount of volume I have, so it's kind of an unfair comparison. So what did I do? I did a lot of different stuff, and most of it didn't work. So I went back to the starting line. And what I've ended up doing is creating or importing in 3 different averages from Dominator, yards per team pass attempt, and PPR points per game. For I think I've got it in all tight end, running back, and wide receiver positions now. And comparing how players, the average. Well, for wide receivers, I'm using their average, I think, to prospects from that conference. Who were the team's leading wide receiver? Now, it's a little unfair to compare age seasons to that, because when you're 18 years old, you're very rarely the wide receiver 1 on your team. So what I did is I compared the players' actual kind of end of career stats to the average from their conference. Now, for wide receivers, it's had kind of muted results. It has improved 6. Subscribe on YouTube for jokes like that. But Zach Reed from the Dynasty Dummies insisted I created something that was an SEX metric or stat, so we could use the abbreviation, and it actually turned out to be pretty useful. So that's the market share of yards over expectation using a 5-year average, and now I'm using the conference average, and the R squared, or the predictability, or the explanation power of the stat actually improved. Also, I improved efficiency score, which is, you can't see half of this, hang on. And I'm specifically talking about wide receivers right now. We'll get on to how tight ends might be solvable at this point in a second. But efficiency score, originally it was just final year yards per team pass attempt above the team's average of the top 3 options or voluminous players on that team. Now it's yards per team pass attempt above conference expectation. So their average yards per team pass attempt compared to a conference average for wide receiver 1s. So it's really not an efficiency score at this point, but yards per team pass attempt in itself does have an element of efficiency to it, at least half of it. And again, the R squared jumped, and so I kind of liked it as a better efficiency score. Now, we still do have that over here. Where is it? It's going to be in here. So if you look across, if you're interested in that stat still, which I do, it's one I look at quite a lot. It's average receiving yards per team pass attempt above conference, or you can also look above team average, so you can see how much more effective they were on a per team pass attempt basis than the other players on the team. Those are still two things I look at, but we can do better with a score, and I wasn't actually creating anything. I was just showing the number, whereas efficiency score is now something that we calculate a little bit using the conference average. And again, it actually seems to tell us something about the player with the way the R squared jumped anyway. So I improved that as well. Let me see. But the thing I was just doing, and also points per game above conference average, that's something I put in. Tight ends, and I did this for running backs and for tight ends as well. The one it seems the most useful for is I switched to using last year for tight ends, because that seems to be the most predictive at the position the last year a player plays. And if you can see anything, probably not at this point. And I haven't uploaded the public sheet yet, so I've got to update. But I've got a very, very basic rudimentary test running at the top of my sheet here, which is telling you the R squared to the entire sample. So it's a really bad test, but it's a good indicator if things are improving or not improving. We have to do further testing to see if it's actually relevant, but it's just kind of an indicator of how it's going as I fiddle with things. And yeah, the tight end stats have now jumped over 16% in that very broad sample test, and that's rare. Like I don't normally see in this crappy test. I very rarely see anything at 15, let alone anything at 16. And tight ends in particular, as I talked about before, like custom made to not be predictive, because so few good ones actually play well in the NFL. And so few have multiple college seasons. So this is fairly interesting. So again, I'm just doing the average share of teams' market share of yards, dominator, but also no. I did PPR points as well, I think. And yeah, I created that same efficiency score, but instead of looking at the average stat, I looked at the last year stat. And so far, it's the best single thing I've got outside of, draft round. And this is the 2021 class organized by the stats. Now, one of my favorite to actually organize the tight end position by outside of models. Kyle Pitts shows. Now, there are some notable failures. Like, where's this? Can you see this one? Yeah. So looking at the best all players to have a top 5 season at the tight end position, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 players, including Jimmy Graham, who actually scored negative points in that stat. But that's it. That's the rest of them are all positive at least, and the distribution of where you score is fairly good. And again, the organization. I mean, okay, Heath Miller jumps up here over Kelsey. So again, it's not a great rank stat, but it does seem to be doing a pretty good job of, on the whole, isolating good players. I mean, even these players with negative values, they're still pretty close to zero, bruh. And so, yeah, Jimmy Graham looked bad in his class, but we did hit on Aaron Hernandez and Dennis Pitta, and that's just one variable, like one thing we can look at, not like it should rank our players. But like players who do fairly well in this more often than for most stats tend to be good. And I kind of like knowing that. And so I'm going to invest some time looking at that at the tight end position a little bit more. Anyway, the thing I was just working on, though, and I can go back over any of that, and we probably will, but I'm actually pretty excited. I just started thinking a step in the process, as it were, was to compare some of these players. I keep getting told about Devontae Smith playing with such a heavy depth chart. And something that's annoying that people do, especially with rookie prospect evaluation, is use a reason to like a player more only in the instance where it matters for them, right? So, like, Devontae Smith was playing with Calvin Ridley, and then he was playing with Henry Ruggs and all these players that got high draft capital. That's the argument, right? I'm not wrong on that. I have no comments. So I'm just going to pretend I am. And I don't necessarily disagree. Again, I think my position on Smith is he looks fine, actually. It's fine. I don't think it's spectacular, but I definitely don't think it's necessarily bad. He looks good. He's coming from a good team and a good conference and everything else. But here's the thing. When we make that argument for Smith, it's very rarely without the context of the fact that normally doesn't matter for wide receiver. Like, just because you have a good player on your team doesn't mean you don't do well. So Smith did fine, but check it out if you can see it like at all. And this is Devontae Smith's first year right here. And this is a distribution of the percentage of yards, receptions, and the dominator rating of every player in 2017. The first year only was on his team. And as you see, he actually scored about an 8% dominator. He had 5.9% of the yards. And I'm not saying that's bad. What I'm saying is that was how his first year racked up, right? And that's fine. You've got Calvin Ridley at the top. You've got Henry Ruggs taking 8.4% of the receiving yards, not to mention Jerry Jeudy in one of his very early years already dominating. And again, Jeudy is probably the best prospect outside of Calvin Ridley from this team. Ruggs never did particularly well, and in 2017, I think he was already further into his career. And he never really got that far above a 14% dominator, to be honest. But this is Devontae Smith. This is a player we're talking about now. And in his rookie college season, he did fine. Like, that's not a bad thing. Fine is good in a good way, right? But everyone's talking about the crunch he had at the position because of all the draft capital spent on Alabama. But this is his second year. And you can see he jumped up to 12. He's going upwards, which most players do. And that's, again, okay. Actually, at 19, that's pretty bad. But if you want to say Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs and, the all-star that is Jalen Waddle being on the team really just made him struggle, okay, I don't find a lot of reason to respect that. But, yeah, I mean, Jerry Jeudy seems to be very good, in my opinion. Henry Ruggs, maintained a 14 to 20% share of the offense and got first-round draft capital. I can nod along. And then in the next year, Devontae Smith actually rises to the top, above Jeudy in terms of total dominator, for example. But this is at a more advanced age than Jeudy was. And then Jeudy gets drafted in the NFL, Smith stays, and Smith becomes the dominant one. That is, hey, J-Mike, that is pretty much a typical run-of-the-mill curve for production, to be honest, with Devontae Smith, even with Ridley on the team, even with Ruggs on the team and Jerry Jeudy. The reason Jeudy stands out a little bit more than the others is because he was doing it at a younger age with higher market share. So, I mean, some of these players are getting higher numbers in different seasons, but Jeudy is younger when he's getting a much larger role and has a much larger role compared to anyone outside of Smith. But Smith was doing it at an older age, so Judy's impressive, but whatever, Smith looks fine. Here's the thing, I'm only hearing that argument for Devontae Smith, which is how you know it's a narrative just designed to make a play that you like look better, right? Here's Elijah Moore, sorry. I always want to come on Elijah Woods. I don't know why. But yeah, this is his first year in the league. AJ Brown and DK Metcalf, they're pretty good, like Calvin Ridley, but he had two of them in his first year, and he had a pretty similar dominator rating as Devontae Smith in their first year. And Elijah Moore was younger in his first year than Mr. Smith. Not to mention, he was a larger part of the receiving game, 9% of the receiving yards, with Metcalf and A.J. Brown on the team. Now, again, DK Metcalf only played 7 games, but A.J. Brown played a full season that year and had a 30% dominator and 31% of the yards. Whereas when we compare that to the struggles of Devontae Smith, Calvin Ridley actually had a lower dominator. Like, he was taking up less of the receiving work. Okay, Henry Ruggs, but Ruggs had a 14% dominator. DeMarcus Lodge, who was by no means great, and this was at a later age, but he was taking up 20 or creating 20% of the offense. Elijah Moore is the one that had a problem. Now, luckily for Elijah Moore, both of those players left after 2018, or rather in 2019, they were unavailable. No, that's when they were drafted. And so Moore was able to jump up to be the wide receiver 1, which is what happened to Devontae Smith in his final year. Fair. But you've got to remember that Elijah Moore is doing this at age 19, and Smith is doing it at age 21. Now, he had no choice, right? You've got Calvin Ridley, and who else did I just say was on his team? Jerry Jeudy. So it was harder to do that. But in the 1 year that we compare, where they both had, NFL studs, or in fact market share studs in college on their team, Moore at a younger age did more. So why do I just hear Devontae Smith is good, and the reason his numbers don't look good is because of this crunch? Because there was less of a crunch than for Moore, and Moore doesn't look bad. So does that mean we all should put Elijah Moore at wide receiver one? That's what I'm saying. Elijah Moore should be wide receiver one in this class. Not really. I'm just saying you come like let's stay consistent here. If Devontae Smith's numbers look bad because of the struggle he had with the players on his team, then Elijah Moore looks good with a larger struggle. So if you like Devontae Smith, you have to have Elijah Moore above him, right? Is that fair? I love you too, man. Thank you. Appreciate it, Jamie. We can't pull the four Bama receivers and see who they think is best. Yeah, you can. You literally can. And the only time Devontae Smith was the best one was when none of the others were there. Well, actually, that's unfair. In 2019, he was the leader in market share receiving yards and receiving dominator above Judy. But again, Judy was, I forget, he was what, 20? Devontae Smith is 21 or so. I forget what ages they're playing at. I should have pulled that in. You know. This sheet's way too big to share. Let me pull up wide receivers. And I do. That's what Teammates Score does, by the way. It's in the database. Let me see. Alabama. What year? 18, 19, and 20, we said, right? Let me see if I can pull in their age column as well. Like, this isn't an argument. Well, I can make an argument against Smith. I mean, he's fine. He's not great. It's more like Elijah Moore should have more words spoken about him at this point because he did better. And if you're worried about, the team talent on the team, he had more talent on his team. So why would you not be all about Elijah Wood? Where is it? I'm looking for their ages. I thought I found it there for a second. See, this is why you create a database and don't just have a file. There it is. Age, right there. Let's organize by dominator and organize by. Anyway, the opportunity was spread out more in Alabama than it was for Mississippi, where Elijah Moore was playing. That's the way it breaks down. I don't think we should give players bumps and negatives for the players they play with. I really don't. But if we're gonna do it, like, why are we doing it for the player who didn't do as much? Why not do it for the player that did do as much? That was too small. There it is. All right. This is Alabama zoomed in, if I can do it. Could you just go look at the database instead of asking me? I mean, it's in there. But anyway, yeah. Top 3 dominators by year. There it is. So in the year that actually in the year that Smith was the leader, who is better than Judy or had more of the offense than Judy, playing the same number of games at the same age, they were both 20. The difference is that Jerry Judy was doing more than that at a younger age. And again, this is partly why Judy came out as I had to make some excuses for him. Because he was co-opted that last year. I guess that's why the numbers look a little more close together, but he's still fine. But again, my main point here is that if you think competition for targets or whatever is a reason to adjust your expectations up for a player like it is for Devontae Smith, then you should just freaking love Elijah Moore. Like, he should be your boy. Like, and again, I don't look at it this way. I don't go season by season. The way mine's organized is by age, which I get is a little weird when you want to do some comparisons this way. So you have to do a little bit of homework to understand which season is actually the season they were playing together. And that's a little awkward, but as you've seen when you organize it by, or you just saw, where is it? When you organize it by season, it ends up looking like this, and it's just nastier. I mean, you can run, I can still run calculations in it, but I don't think it's easy to look over for everyone. And that's why I reorganize it all for you guys. But yeah, and as far as, I just had someone ask about it, but I've got something in here called, what is it? Teammate score, which is the percentage over conference average the top 3 players are actually co-opting. Right now, you can see here the average market share of receiving yards for the top 3 players in that conference for every team, over the last 5 years or so. And this column right here, which I usually remove because they're not to do with the player, they're to do with the team, but I can keep them in if you like. And you can see the average market share of the top 3 by team. So, I mean, I guess we can see it that way as well. Elijah Moore. And again, this isn't like you should like Moore more than Smith for real. It's just, if that's what you're using to boost up Smith, you should boost up Moore as well, but further. The questions this time of year get weird. Like, why don't you like him? Like, compared to what? He didn't do as well as a lot of players, so I like him less than those players. But he did better than a lot of other players, so I like him more than those players. It's not a yes/no question. Yet. I'm looking at Smith. See, if this was an app, I could just type the names, but it's not. All right, yeah, there you go. The average market share of the top 3 players on Elijah Moore's team was around 21%, but that's because, he was the only one co-opting significant target share after DK Metcalf and AJ Brown left at a younger age. And with Devontae Smith, it was 25. The conference expectation, obviously, it's probably the same conference, isn't it? Yeah, same conference, so it's exactly the same. So yeah, Smith had, a bigger target crunch over multiple years. But both in their first year, when they were both playing with studs on the same team, Moore had a bigger crunch and was doing better on it. So to me, that's a fairer comparison. You know what I mean? Yeah, Elijah Moore. And again, I'm not even sure where Moore's going to land for me right now, but he looks pretty good, and you don't have to adjust it or, make some kind of bullshit excuse for why Smith couldn't do it. Well, maybe it's not bullshit. That's a little unfair. I get it. He had Judy on his team, but the expectation by age is incredibly low. Again, to point this out, like the average market share or dominator for an player age 18 is like really low. You don't have to do much to get there. And again, to be fair to Smith, I'm saying Elijah Moore did well with a 9% dominator and 9% receiving yards. Smith did about the same numbers. I would say that, well, actually, he did a lot less in terms of receiving yards, But he had about an 8% dominator. I prefer receiving yards actually, but I mean, we'll say they both did pretty well as first year players, right? I'm fine with that. But in the 1 year, like Elijah Moore was doing slightly better, and he was doing it on a team where the top three players. I just messed that up. The top three players were like 66% of the receiving yards, and Moore had a 9% dominator. Whereas for Smith in his first year, the top three players had 53%. So like Moore's the one who had a bigger crunch that first year, and he did better. That to me would be the comparison. And that's the thing, when you compare him, if you could compare him to Rondell Moore that way, if he had studs on his team, like that's what we're saying we expect with some of these market share numbers, that Moore would have looked more impressive that first year than most, because he basically has the best age 18 season that ever existed, I'm pretty sure. Actually, who is that? No. Okay. Corey Davis had the best age 18 season. All right, fair enough. Calvin Johnson's like fifth. But, that's not conference adjusted, so whatever. And Moore's is like the 10th highest ever dominator in an age 18 season. It's pretty much why he's risen to the top, right? And that's fiction right now. New model is not real yet. All right. But yeah, so what else did I do in here? I did a similar conference adjustment in PPR points per game and also yards per team pass attempt, which actually also works out better for running back, it turns out. So you can see those when I update it as well. And again, both of those are hitting around 16%. It's pretty neat, actually, that all you have to do is a little conference adjustment and those R squared numbers spike up. And I would say they didn't do a lot to change the order. From PPR points, Harris is still first, Chubb is best, because I'm using best season here. They have better seasons. I'm not. This is not a great ranking. Obviously, the draft hopefully is going to provide us with a lot better opinion on running backs. And my pre-draft score, the reason I can't filter it by like my pre-draft model is because it uses, for running backs, it's still using combine information. So, oh wait, there's my face. Is Kadarius Toney anywhere you there? I don't know who. Is that a wide receiver? I don't know who that is. Probably not. If you're talking about Kentucky, I don't know. I don't know people that live next door to me much. So. Okay, here he is. It is a wide receiver. Look at that. Playing in Florida in the SEC East. All right. Well, first thing to do, since I'm now obsessed with this stuff. All right. They've occasionally spent a second-round pick on the SEC East, but not rarely. Oh, a first-round pick from Patterson, and AJ Green came from there. Okay, this is a popular conference. I get it. It's been a while though. Like no one in 2020. Van Jefferson, maybe. Anyway, so what was I looking at? Tony's numbers. Ooh, he did not break out at good ages. He's got like a 4% hit rate. And right now that's only fueled by breakout ages because I don't have draft capital yet. Oh, also I created this yards per team pass attempt dominator. If you're interested, it has a pretty good R squared. But let's see, Tony. He broke out a 20% threshold at age 21. All right, I've never seen him before. He played 38 games over 4 years as well, so I'm gonna go ahead and guess this isn't the best profile for me. Yeah, he didn't do anything till his last year, so I would call him a late breakout from a strong conference. But I mean, I'm not seeing anything particularly exciting about him. He had 2% lower market share receiving yards for wide receivers in his own conference over his college career. He did score about 8 points more than you'd expect that final year, so it was a really good, strong finish. But again, my default is most players who do well in the NFL have strong careers, not strong seasons, especially final seasons. Because you've seen a difference, and also you're fully built. You've grown up into a lot bigger human being in the weight room. So if you're doing it in that situation, I think it can be a little bit of a mirage. He's 9% less productive than most players that hit in the NFL according to projection score when adjusted by age. And he was about average for his conference as a wide receiver 1 last year in terms of yards per team pass attempt, which is fine. That's not a bad thing. Like last year, he did pretty well, but he hasn't proved he can do anything particularly if he has any kind of disadvantage. And he's about to go to the NFL, where pretty much everyone has a severe disadvantage because everyone is ripped and wrecked and the best at their position in the world. So, and you're facing them. Yeah, no. The average for top 24 players in the NFL is around 2.2, 2.3-ish yards per team pass attempt for your career, and he's at 1.2. That's a problem. Sorry, I'm flicking through this stuff a lot quickly. I know you can't probably even see it when you asked about it, but again, this is literally pinned to my timeline if you want to just find his name and scan along. I'm just reading off the stats that I look at first. Breakout age to how he did in this situation, the distribution of his production over the length of his career by looking at these age things. And then I compare him to, well, now I'm starting to compare him in terms of production compared to his conference for his career. And that's what I laid out for you there. He's coming from a much stronger conference than a lot of players that I think were better producers, and that actually goes in his favor, dude. So, you know, if you're a big fan, I think that's where your hope is that last big season, combined with coming from a conference that the NFL looks at a little bit more than most. Well, at least more than the Big Ten, and could lead to opportunity, and therefore you could build on that. You know, people get better, they improve, and maybe that's what happened in his last year. But he didn't show any signs of it until that last year. What was I? Oh yeah, running backs. Now I think the most interesting thing I found was honestly tight end, because tight end has been particularly useless. And that likes Kyle Pitts, I guess. And so what I was doing with that is I was running it back over past years, since I've never really looked at the stat before. And it's really weird that like last year works for tight end. Like that's kind of weird. But if you run it back through the years, so if we look at 2020, it actually puts Harrison Bryant towards the top, which is interesting because, you know, didn't think a lot of them. And Harrison and Hunter Bryant, for example, were pretty much inseparable in a weak class. But if we look at a class we all thought was strong, like Hawkinson and Fant, it also, you know, actually had it actually really liked Caleb Wilson, interestingly enough, but it did have Hawkinson scoring well, and Irv Smith. That's the only time I've ever found anything that made me like Irv Smith, to be honest with you. Fant was doing fine as well. And again, it's not a scale, it's just trying to highlight who was doing well in their situation. And it's doing pretty well with this tiny 16%, which is better than most for tight end. And like I said, I showed you the bigger sample earlier. If you look at all the top 5 players, there's actually a reasonable range, and most didn't at least get, significantly terrible scores. It put Mark Andrews at the very top of the class, for example. That's accurate. Gesicki did fine, pretty good, above average. Herndon was slightly lower. It kind of passes a loose eye test as something that I might want to perform more tests on and see if I can get more use of it. It really did like Gerald Everett, though. And then it's Evan Ingram. But I think that's accurate. In terms of production, Everett was more productive in South Alabama than Ingram was in Mississippi, but obviously Ingram had the size and more draft capital, so it's not like it would have led us wrong. It's also the first production metric I've really seen that put Njoku below those guys, like even marginally. They were hard to separate out before now, so I think this might be of value or utility, filtering. I don't know. I liked Hunter Henry. Austin Hoover did fine in it. I don't know. 16% really isn't worth getting excited about, but it's nice to find anything that kind of works at tight end that you can apply to all players, because even tight ends have a last year, right? That's probably why last year works a little bit more tight end. Oh, look, I've got Funches in the tight end database at this point. Nice. I still think he would have made a great tight end. Apparently. He made a pretty good wide receiver, to be fair. NFL standard wise. What else was I looking at? Let's just do more wide receivers, I guess. If you get to let me to our own devices, that's what's going to happen. Yeah, Bateman and Moore, and I'd heard of Bateman before, and I've heard of Moore, and I've heard of Chase. And I'm no way concerned by Chase, by the way. He looks worse than Moore because he's got a larger sample, but he looks good on that larger sample, which is fine. And Bateman was playing in a much easier conference. I get it, as was and so on and so forth. And Chase looks fine. He's coming out really well. He's got good breakout ages, a strong hit rate average. Like I think he's going to get draft capital. I don't think I'm going to have to worry about rating him. Like I think that's going to take care of itself. But there are these players who catch your eye because I don't think they're going to necessarily get draft capital. I haven't heard them before. And Moore is one that just keeps popping up. Also, Tylan Wallace, but I'm worried he feels like a big guy. If I were to guess, he's got 17 yards per reception. No, I don't know. I literally don't know his size yet. It's very clearly wide receiver 1 for his team. Where is he playing again? Big 12. It's not a bad conference, right? I seem to remember that name. That's normally a good sign. Oh yeah, CD Lamb, Jalen Rager. Okay, yeah. So people are aware of Tylan Wallace, I would imagine. Hey, even Marcus Brown, nice. By the look of his hit rate here, he probably broke out around 19. Oh yeah, there it is, right there, age 19. I know. I get this nasty Pittman feeling from Wallace because I like Pittman. I still like not Pittman. Mims. I don't know. I don't know why I say that either. To be fair, he has a fairly high teammate score as well. Who's he playing with? Who did I say he played with? Oklahoma 17 to 20. He played 4 years. That's a taste in my mouth. I think I'm going to have the late declare conversation. That's it. He stayed in too long. That means he's bad, apparently. Is it Oklahoma State or just Oklahoma? State. All right, Oklahoma State. Who was he playing with to get such a... Was that just him boosting that teammate score? That's not right. Yeah, Tyler Wallace getting 40% boosts his own teammate score by himself 30% the year before. Tyron Johnson, 20% in 18. And then James Washington. All right. He wasn't playing in 2017, surely not. 18, 19, 20. Was he? Yeah, he may have stayed in college too long. Oh, yeah. Look, there he is. He was playing on the Oklahoma when Justice Hill and James Washington were there, man. And the weird thing is, if he'd come out last year, his profile would have looked pretty good. And it still does, because last year he just continued being dominant, frankly. Dylan Stoner. Hey. Oh, no, he's a senior. I know Stoner might be the guy standing out there more than anyone, but yeah, this is going to be his problem. He stayed in school. The nerds are not going to like that. I don't know. It's not like he wasn't good before that. Yeah. 6% above average for successful players. Adjusted by age. Kind of like that. Again, the sufficiency score is pretty good for wide receivers too. I mean, we could run some R-squared testing on it, I guess. Dang. Elijah Moore's up there with Demaryius Thomas in terms of how productive he was in this situation. And that's a name in terms of how, I mean, wow. Demaryius Thomas is just kind of insane in terms of his production profile. Wow. I mean, there you go. There's something positive about Devontae Smith there. When you sort by this, above conference average for wide receivers ones through the average of their career, Devontae Smith is, fourth here. He's done pretty well while he's there. He's done pretty well. And in this one stat, he's actually top of the fold. You don't have to make shit up about players to find why they looked good, It doesn't have to be a breakout in your heart. Who's the other guy? It's Waddle, isn't it? Mr. Waddle. Yeah, that's a guy I've heard about, or heard people arguing about. Yeah, okay. Oh, he was playing as well, man. And no, you can't play 28 games and be terrible, and then play 5 games and be good, and then argue that those 5 games were the real truth, right? That's not a thing we're doing. Really? That's a thing. That's a thing we're doing now, guys. Good lord, taking that to Twitter. God dang. No, Norton, I didn't. I don't even like you. Go away. Where's Twitter? I've got like 4 Twitter tabs open right now. Where's he playing? Alabama. Oh, of course it's Alabama. Of course it is. Everyone think Alabama bump. There he is. This was his first year, right? Played 3 years. 2020 was his last. So no, this was his first year. He just didn't do anything. Okay. Okay. You know, sorry, I'm not talking. I'm trying to see names in really small script. Let me see. 2016. Did Waddle play in 16 at all? He's not that old, right? Nah. No, I think 2017 was the first year he played. I'm just looking. I'm like, why are people trying to make arguments for his last season, which was 5 games long, so you can't know. But just at a glance here, wasn't he doing okay earlier than that? Not really, but kind of. No, he wasn't. He was 19 his first year. I see. Yeah, he played. 19 was his first year. He's got a late birthday, I would imagine. Well, early declares are going to like him fine because I imagine that means he's still a junior. Most players don't get worse the more experience they get, though. It's a weird profile for a name that people like, apparently, from watching him. I mean, he played 13 games that year. Did he get injured or something when he was 20? I mean, he still played 13 games when he might have been slowed down. I could see that argument, maybe. Because 14% as your first year at age 19 isn't great, but it's not terrible. It's like 9% when you're 80, you know? It's fine, it just doesn't stand out. You need to do something else, and he just never did. So if there's an excuse like injury or something, I might ease up on him. Hmm. Yeah, you see, the SEC West, it's a passing league by the look of it. Okay, I've got these percentages screwed up apparently. Because I removed the sum column. Whoops. Yeah, that's the way. Oops. Ah, nice. How are we doing? Questions, thoughts, players you want to look at? %27% of all the wide receiver hits have come from the SEC West. That's a lot. 93 hits. 14 of them have come from the West. Huh. Still waiting for that Sun Belt wide receiver hit, apparently. Hey, J. Mike, how you doing? Yeah, sure. I don't know anything about him, so now's probably a good time. Who in North Carolina? You mean in the database or actual seasonal stats? Like Diami Brown or a different North Carolina? Carolina State or yeah. North Carolina, not North Carolina State. Yeah, we can do that. Weird. So at 20 years old, Diami, I guess is how you say it, Brown, had like a 30% dominator, 32% receiving yards. Daz Newsom had 18% receiving yards, 18% dominator, which is really weird. It's not that weird, but like he had the same. Okay. He was equally involved in the receiving and touchdown game, apparently. That's kind of neat. Yeah, yeah, about 18% both receiving yards and touchdowns from that team that year. But anyway, um, yeah, that's fine, especially his final year numbers. They've both kind of been squishing each other in terms of teammate score. Like they've both had high market shares for the last 2 years. Is hmm, I mean, didn't play a lot, I guess, at age 18. All right, let's take a look here. I don't mind that split, by the way. I don't have Daz listed. Is he meant to come out this year? I might not have his birthday. Let's see. Mr. Brown broke out at 19, 20%, 30. Broke out at 20, age 20, with a 30% threshold. Both of those are really strong numbers, solid. I'd say that's the average for players that do well in the NFL. His dominator rating is a little below par, but again, we were just looking about he and one other player were basically splitting the percentage of teams. I'm guessing if we go over here and look at teammate score, oh no, it's below average for the conference apparently. But that's over the first three players, so that might be bringing them down slightly. Fairly efficient. His yards per team pass attempt was above conference average by 2.2 yards that final year, or his career average, actually. That's pretty impressive. I'm looking for games played, to be honest, just to get a sense of 9, 12, and 11. I played 9 games at 18. And again, he didn't stand out at 18, but most don't. He did stand out at 19. Like we just saw, he jumped to being the wide receiver one, I think it was that year. Maintained it into his third year. He's going to come out. I'm guessing the early declare crowd will call him a junior, so they'll like that. I'm non-committal on it at best. I don't think. Yeah, positive is positive, I guess. Yeah, I'd say the main problem he's got here is that Daz Newsom, did you say, was co-opting or creating almost equal share those last 2 years, but Daimi himself looks fine. And that, honestly, it's the first time I've ever been reminded of Odell and Landry in terms of the split of the work. But again, both of those looked fine, and so does he. But I can't say he's that kind of player. Dominators, yeah, all his market share stats are a little below average for players that hit in the NFL. But again, that's an average, so there should be a range around it. So I'm not terrified by it. His production is a little bit low, unfortunately. And like that last year, that first year, age 18, he played 9 games. He's a little below average. He did jump up to 30% and 34%, like we saw, but that's a little below what we'd expect for most. But again, if you've got a share going on like that, it's okay to say, well, that's not everything. Okay, well, the last time the team spent draft capital on this conference, it was Greg Little or Hakeem Nicks. I would say that's not positive. ACC Coastal. It's the first time I've heard his name, but and the ACC isn't like the independent conference or whatever. He's coming up like 9th overall in my pre-draft model, which I don't really trust as a model, but I use it as a good gauge. 23% hit rate just based on his breakout ages. It's not terrible. As long as his ADP doesn't slip below the 3rd round, I think he might be an interesting name. Where does he play? You know more about how he plays. He's got like 18.7 yards per reception. Is he a big downfield guy or something? Yeah, not the state, the university. Yeah. I have no idea who either of those guys are. So no, I haven't done my player history yet to find out which one was sleeping in his car or whatever. But I know he might be James Proch's son, apparently. Oh yeah, you don't have to worry about him. It doesn't matter. Austin Prof. Is that said like an F? Pharrell, maybe. Let me see here. Personal life. He is the son of former receiver Ricky Farrell, I guess. Ricky played college football at Wake Forest and played in the NFL from 1999 to 2006 for the Arizona Cardinals, Seattle Seahawks, Chicago Bears, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, he is. So says Wikipedia. He does might have returned to school for next year. I mean, if he doesn't, I'll grab his birthday and put him in there. But eyeballing it, as it were, I think Dimey, I guess, looks a little better anyway. I don't know how old Daz was in these seasons, but if I go ahead and guess he's 18 and 19, he actually looks okay. He looks pretty good for 18 and 19, if that's those the ages. But he's already played 3 years, so I'm worried that he was actually 19 and 20, and he's still fine considering Dimey's, on the team. I don't know. I don't know enough about my efficiency stats yet to say that I could judge how well they're playing, but they look like they're playing pretty well on a slightly less than you'd want volume by age. But since both of them are in there, and like I was just saying about, when you've got AJ Brown and DK Metcalf on your team, 9% starts to look pretty good. But so we can have a slight, mental adjustment for that. I don't think it's something I can create in a number, though. Where are they from? ACC Coastal. Oh, the fucking Coastals. Fucking Coastals. I don't know. 11% of hits have come from that particular conference. 6 hits in the top 24 since 2000. But again, that includes Hakeem Nicks and whatever else I mentioned. Average dominator is actually slightly lower for wide receiver ones from that conference. So the fact, if we were to make conference adjustments here, yeah, actually they both look pretty interesting. They don't jump off the page until I looked a little closer because you asked me to there. They're the kind of players who will start to spike up a little bit if they get a little bit of combine noise, and then again if they get a little bit of draft capital, it's probably going to have them surfacing in models, potentially in the top 12 wide receivers. Just a little smidge of the third round draft capital, and we could probably get there. Don't hate them. Yeah, I think Daz must have gone back to school. Which is probably, I don't know his life. He can do what he likes, but it's probably going to make nerds not like him as well. Oh no, he's declared for the draft. I just don't have his birthday yet, I don't think. According to RotoViz, it says here, North Carolina senior wide receiver Daz Newsome declared for the NFL draft. So that's a player I've got to add. Thanks for that, J-Mike. That'll be easy. 2021 class, let's see. Yeah, I've got his birthday in the DLF news database, so I don't know why I wasn't put in here, but I'll find him. All right, let's test this desktop PC here. Okay, don't save. No, go away. What one can do is try and do it live. Sound fun? Google it. Jesus Christ. I Googled it. It's on Wikipedia, yeah. Was number 4 on the 99 Rams team, yeah. In the meantime, let me try and add J. Mike's favorite player in the world here. Yeah, I've got him listed as declared, but I didn't have his birthday. Well, I do now. Yeah, I was being sarcastic there. It's actually a really big chore, but whatever. So this is fun. Specified date. /1/ How do we calculate dates in Excel again? Anyone want to remind me? – 18, 19, 20, and 21. There you go. Yeah, it's going to be a later class. I'm not going to have his decimal breakout age because I'm not running that right now, but everything else we can do. Let's see. Where's his ID? That's a weird ID. What did I do wrong? Huh, weird. Yeah, by the way, this would have been impossible on stream. Even this little bit. Shout out to the desktop, man. Oh, wait. I did that the wrong way around. Okay. There he is. All right, let me. Oh no, because I've deleted things and stuff. Damn you, J-Mike. I had it all pretty and stuff. J-Mike with the problems. Give me a second, I'll look over your injustice. There's a whole bunch of cleaning up to do before I can throw it all to you. Like, I don't know why these two columns are in here. I'm just scared to delete them from the main one, just in case something depends on them. Don't need that. Or this. Or this. Okay. Don't need that. I got a lot of excess columns these days. All right. Yeah. I mean, look what you make me do. Yeah, I just had to delete all of that. Yeah, I'm checking, it's fine. Don't need that right now. There he is. Oh, why didn't it? Oh. No, it's fine. He just doesn't have one particular stat, so I couldn't do something. Don't need that one. This color coding is really getting insane at this point. All right. What were we looking for, J-Mike? Yeah, I prefer Dimey. Newsom broke out over 20% at 20. Neither got over 30%, but it's kind of okay. It's not the most favorite profile I've ever seen, but it's not half bad for someone I hadn't noticed. Let's go the highest R squared right now. Yeah. It's really high yards per reception, dude. I don't know. Yeah, appreciate it. Can you answer my question now? Down the field guy, right? Like he's just constantly running 9 routes? I mean, he comes in just around where Devontae Smith is for me. With some notable, obviously, I'm guessing Keelan Stokes isn't adjusted hard enough for his team. Charters Atwell at Louisville. Go Louisville! Apparently. Jaden Reed? He really didn't play enough games. I'm starting to think anyone that doesn't play 20 games or more, I should just give a 0 to. Tyreek Black, same thing. There we go. Where am I? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's probably more accurate right there. Yeah, sorry, I forget this thing's so big. That's them organized by my original pre-draft model, which, as you can see, it has seen better days in terms of its accuracy. But again, it's not really what it's for. Yeah, I put him in the Devontae Smith era, because it looks pretty fine. Didn't stand out spectacularly, but did pretty well in this situation. In a few of his stats, he looks decent. So yeah, you haven't watched either of their films yet. Okay. I mean, how many films did they make? No, you're fine, Jamie. You're fine. I would be interested because I don't like that's mostly the first thing I want to know about these players that I don't, which is like, what do these yards per receptions mean? Because they're mostly trashed by themselves, but I'm guessing Elijah Moore is a slot guy. Rashad Bateman, though, 16 yards per reception. Was he really far down the field a lot, or is that average? Is he an X? But Dyami Brown in particular, like him and Tamuri and Terry have like 18 yards per reception throughout their career, and that seems really high. Well, honestly, a better way of looking at it is probably this. Yeah, Brown was getting 3.8 yards per receptions per game. So I'm guessing that's mostly big plays, which is fine. I mean, it has a really good role. The NFL loves down the field players if they're good at it. So he may well, get interest there. And, Golden Tate was a down the field player before he went to the NFL. So we're never quite sure how that's going to work out. Daz, on the other hand, seems to be more of a volume player with a 4.3 receptions per game. So yeah, I think that's worse for Daz. I'm probably out on Daz for any kind of reasonable expense. But I could see events unfolding that would make me start being interested in Brown at second round ADP. I mean, it'd have to be pretty good, but I want to know what Zach and you think, and I'd have to see what the draft does. But I mean, it's not outside the range, outside of possibility that it could happen. Ugh. Some sort of effect in 2020 is just boosting production a little bit, even though I'm discounting seasons with where they didn't play 6 games. Just the numbers seem a little high on average. I mean, maybe that's just because it was a very productive class in college, but I don't think so. Like Tyler Johnson last year was pretty insane, and one quick number that I just made so to get a sense of it is yards per team passing attempt dominator, which is the best in last year's halved, essentially, or averaged. And he was at 4.1. Like he was really productive at a conference the NFL doesn't care about. But like I can see 1, 2. I've got 6. I've got at least a couple players over 6 yards per team pass attempt if you combine their best and worst seasons. Their best and last seasons. That's kind of insane. The average for top 24 players is 2.75. 6 is kind of insane. One of them's Elijah fucking Moore, of course. And Rashad Bateman's 3.5, which is high, but at least within the realms of reasonable. You know, within the error marks. But like that puts Elijah Moore up there with Demaryius Thomas. I can't tell you how insane that is. That was literally one of the best NFL receivers playing at Georgia Tech at the Coastal, and like that was an insane situation, you know. The only others are like players playing in the Mountain West Conference or the Coastal Division again, but they're nowhere near up there with Elijah Moore and Demaryius Thomas. Like the next, you know, reasonable conferences, I guess Terrence Williams, Baylor, Des Bryant. Yeah, 2021 just looks weird a little bit. Just every now and again, there's just something that spikes up, and you're like, "That's a little weird." Is that because of last year? I don't know. Like this many players above 10 in my pre-draft model is actually pretty wacky. From memory, like 10 used to be a pretty good dividing line. Last year's class was a really good class, and we're talking about undrafted free agents and know-nothing conferences. Not like people from the SEC. Yeah. I don't know about that. Maybe they are right. Maybe I do have to adjust for 2020. I don't know. Ooh, that's a miss. Acceptable miss. Hey, Mark, how you doing? Just out here doing J-Mike's background research for him. Yeah. Rondo Moore's career makes me sad. 13 of the best games we've ever seen, followed by 4 and then 3. So I can't even count them. 1,200 yards at 18 years old. Homina. God damn, more chill. I mean, just tone it down a bit. They're gonna know. Hey, Guy. I was late too. Don't worry about it. How you doing? Okay. Well, we added Daz Newsome to the database, so that'll be in the update. I've added a few conference adjustments in the Pahowdy score section, for all positions pretty much. The one that I think seems to be the most useful is for tight ends, as far as anything is useful for tight ends. Where is it? Who puts this many stats in a spreadsheet? Come on. Yeah, there is. So efficiency score is now yards per team pass attempt above conference average over the last 3 years. And it seems to like tight ends a lot. Like more than most things, and almost nothing likes tight ends. So that was something that we talked about. It likes Kyle Pitts from this year's class for what it's worth. Slightly more than Harrison Bryant. What else did we do? We did the same things for running back and wide receiver, and again, they both hit over 16%. Running back, that's pretty good. Wide receiver, it was less sure. It's not hitting or clapping any harder than most of the stuff I've already got, which was a little disappointing. Because I was hoping just to list my new favorite prospects based on this thing, and for wide receiver specifically, it didn't work as well. I mean, it's working, it's just not beating what we already had. So that's disappointing, in a way. I've technically started. Also, I created this yards per target, yards per team pass attempt. Damn it, Dominator, which is yards per team pass attempt, put through the same formulator as Dominator, which is the best on last year's averaged. And that's actually slapping a little hot. It slaps better than College Dominator or even Yards Dominator, which is what I'd moved on to already. So I like that. I think I'm going to create a new pre-draft model. The more I look at this, I just want a team production stat, a conference production stat, an age-adjusted production element, and then let's just describe how productive they are in those 3 levels, And I've got those now. I've got all 3 of those. I trust breakout a dominator above average. I trust production score, which is essentially that adjusted for our squad, or including or balanced weighted by. I like this efficiency thing, and that's a conference adjustment. Guess sex. Zach Reed's stat. judging them on a team level, or points per game above conference expectation, which kind of also is kind of team orientated. I don't know. I know I'm meant to just use everything that has signal and create one big master model, but it's just not in me, man. It is not my way. I want to use as few and simpler things as simple as possible things. I don't want to have to list more than 3 things every time I explain what I'm talking about. You know, 3 things is fine. I don't want to say I'm doing everything. It's age, conference, and team production. Easy. I don't know if anyone's noticed because I used to get this complaint all the time, but I started putting decimal breakout ages in there. And now I've done it, no one complains about it, so I guess whoever cares about it noticed. Decimals, Jesus. Personally, would prefer decimal break. It's in there now. I don't think I put it in there for tight end yet, but I can. No one looks at breakout age for anyone but wide receiver, including me. So, Anthony Miko's got one for running back. To be fair. Also, Travis was just talking in a group thread about how he does a weighted dominator to calculate breakout age. So that's a possibility as well. Mm. All right, I guess this is ready for upload. Mac Jones' completion percentage above average is a little insane, by the way. Last year. I don't do quarterback, I maintain, but like this is really high. Justin Fields is up there, so everyone can calm down. So is Trevor Lawrence, but all right. If anyone's on the database, it's about to disappear. Where is it? I can't see it over there. All right, we're uploading. You get to look at me. Isn't that fun? My salvation. Inside. Takes a while. No. So this is fun, just watching on a loading screen. Sorry about that. We're down to 3 people, so that's reflective. I appreciate that. That's fine. Also, my camera seems to put me behind there now. Okay, there we go. Let it go. I'm really trying to stave off having too strong opinions right now. Like, it's something I kind of did last year, but like I'm really trying to stay. I don't not like any of these players yet. It's getting difficult the way some people make arguments, but to be honest, I'm trying. I've left some of those conference averages in there just in case anyone wants to use them now. Anything in yellow is normally removed. If you're looking... lag. There we go. There in the winds of the water. Also, I updated some of the market share stats because I was using receiving and I should have been using passing. So a couple of those have shifted. For example, Devontae Smith doesn't look as good anymore. Who knows? Tight end, running back, wide receiver, tight end, what? Quarterback. Okay. Conference rates, formulas, draft capital, hit rates, wide receiver breakout hit rates. Okay, we're updated. Does anyone need the link, or can you find my Twitter profile? Any one of the 3 here? No? Cool. All right, we'll let the world know. Nice. Yeah, I kind of really like Rashad Bateman and Elijah Moore. I'm trying not to get too ingrained on it. And Tylan Wallace, I hate to say it, I really like his profile, but I'm going to have to see how the draft plays out just because too many smart people are saying that 4-year thing sucks. I still, like, this is a guy I want to ask. Oh, you can't see. This guy, I want to ask Ray GQ or J Mike or Zach about this fella right here. Okay, this one. That one. One, because he's got a cool name, and two, because I've literally heard no one mention him. I think he's coming out as a junior. His breakout age is a little older, but 20's fine, as it were. And my pre-draft model just kind of liked him. Wasn't scoring many points, fantasy points wise. Did have a large share of the offense. His teammates weren't pushing him too much by the look of it. My new scores don't like him too much. I mean, they don't not like him. They just don't like him. Let me go adjust that. But yeah, I don't think he's interesting. Someone they never heard of. And Jamar Chase, really don't worry that he comes down so far this list. This is because my current pre-draft model really doesn't adjust for where they played. I'm pretty sure. Broke out at 19 for 30% of the offense. Also, I only have 2 years from him in here. He didn't play last year, did he? Ooh, nice. But yeah, he looks really good. I'd have him over Moore just because Moore comes from a shittier conference, so the conference the NFL doesn't like, and only has 1 year, so that is what it is. I forgot to merge some of these columns because I had them broken so that I could work on them. So I can select columns. When you have a few columns merged together in the headers, you can't do that. So I'm fixing it. Chill. It's getting fixed as we speak. And again, that conference tab now has some averages, conference averages. If you're looking to work your own thing, I was hoping that would be useful to someone. Let me know if it's not or you need more. Has the average for wide receiver ones and also just players with over 30 touches at each position. Simple lookup would pull them in if you needed to do a adjustment that don't have in here. Yeah, there it is. So you got conference hits, but over here you also have the average in yards per team attempt, yards per team pass attempt, and dominator rating, because that's fun, per conference. So you can just import them in a little bit. Yeah. I got to fix that for running back and tight end, the dominator rating one. Too many null values. Okay, let's see. 2,248 players. That'll do. Oh. Did that? We don't want to know about when. 47 wide receivers. All right. I've got 46 here. That's actually 47. I guess I've got to update that. $2,249. 2,249 players. Accurate. Left, right, look right. Everybody look right. Staring in the spotlight. All right. Let's quit playing with it. That's what she said. Jamar Chase coming out as a senior, or a sophomore rather. Hey, Chase has got a large yards per reception too. I mean, yards per reception is so trash, so I can't use it. Jamar Chase scoring them points, huh? Yeah, Jamar Chase is definitely good. I'm pretty sure, or at least was in college. Has been so far, should we say. He's going to be 21 too. Yeah, all right. I'm done. God, I'm tired. Not sure if you talked about it already, but it looks like, where am I? Looks like no combine this year. Does this affect your data or draft evaluation? Actually, it does for running back. I usually incorporate some combine statistics into my running back pre-draft evaluation process, but also literally in my model. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that yet. It's marginally relevant for tight end running back because we have so little that helps. But I think we can do it without it. If anything, it makes me think the NFL might actually do a little bit better. I think the combine blinds them more than helps them most of the time, to be honest. I mean, just watch the film and trust your processing. Honestly, I think that might help the NFL. They'll hate it because they're deeply in love with the combine, but yeah. For my part, I mean, it's the same every year. You do the best with the information you've got, and you accept that we're not great at it. They'll still have pro days, I guess. I think even the NFL is a little standoffish with pro days, though. You know, they know to expect a little bias. That's why they have their own thing and love the combine so much. It's a good point. I wasn't sure that wasn't going to happen, so I'm gonna have to do something at running back in order to create some sort of pre-draft, because I do actually eventually have to rank these players. And we'll also get heights and weights, but they won't be combine heights and weights. Man, that actually sucks pretty hard. I mean, but the same thing happened in a micro version. Like last year, J.K. Dobbins didn't run a 40, so I couldn't do his combine. What I ended up doing was just using the average for his draft position. And so, well, not draft position, draft round. I guess we could do that for the whole class, but that wouldn't be a pre-draft. I'm not going to use pro day numbers because then there will just be this constant asterisk on the whole thing. I think I'll develop a new pre-draft model. We got some new stats here. It's about time I started experimenting with them anyway. See if I can use these conference things to create one that doesn't require the combine. I think more and more we need to separate out the positions, though. Like, you know, the James Whites versus the Nick Chubbs. For wide receiver, it's a little more complicated without ADOT, but we should do that. We need to do that. We just can't with what we have. And for example, right now, Najee Harris leads this class in terms of how productive he was. Mostly the highest weight placed on best year because it's running back. But it's pretty clear to me that like Travis Etienne from his Clemson ACC Atlantic, I mean, they're pretty comparable in terms of how productive they were. Najee Harris had 2 know-nothing years and then was really productive the last 2. And he's been fairly productive throughout all of it and has, you know, more of a receiving role. So I still lean Etienne. But I think I have a pretty good idea of who I'd like and don't like in this class. I just need to hear more, and without the combine, that's gonna. I mean, it's just listening even harder to those that are going to look at the tape. Honestly, Kenny Gainwell, come on down. Max Borgie. Hey, fairly productive for 3 straight years. Why haven't I heard his name before? Let me guess. Washington State. Okay, there you go. Pac-12. Man, the SEC West is just where most of our players come from, apparently. That's why people are preferring Nash, I guess. The ACC, though, nah. The Atlantic, not many. Jesus Christ. Does the NFL draft anyone outside the ACC West? the hell? Probably can't. I'm looking at my conference tab here, and I've never really dug into this at all. This is the first year I'm looking at it. And here you have all the conferences that I have listed since 2003, and the count of players drafted in the first 3 rounds. I mean, look at that. 64 players out of 522 total. It's normally high. It's like 12% of all players drafted since 2003. Let's do that. About. I'm gonna say, except you're welcome. Is that am I counting divisions wrong? Surely not. I mean, it's fairly simple. Except you're welcome. Oh, I did that wrong. That's why. I did do it wrong. But not in the way I was thinking. You're welcome. You're welcome. Forgot to lock the columns because my quick keys don't work, and so my hands are rejecting the new process. Something to do with my keyboard bios aren't set up right. I don't know, PCs are weird. Why is this causing me so much trouble? There we go. Yup. That's right, like 20% of all players drafted since 2003 came from the SEC. That's kind of wild. No players from the Big West or the Sun Belt West have ever been drafted in the first 3 rounds, apparently. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, how many of them are going to travel to, Minnesota even? Sorry, for anyone, for the other person listening, he says, I think that what you were mentioning on the part about conference bias might be more obvious with NFL relying on pro days. Yeah, that's Actually, a pretty good point. I mean, the good thing is we'll know for sure once they draft them. So we'll know for sure how that's going to affect them then. I mean, this is a problem at this point. They've never drafted a wide receiver from the Big Ten West in the first 3 rounds. 3 running backs. This is a year, right? This is a year. Hey, J Mike, to your point, who are you asking about? They were in the ACC something? J Mike. Save me. It's ACC Coastal. I mean, they get drafted at least 11 players in the last 20 so years. 3% of all drafts. I'm going to be doing Tyler Johnson level free cats all draft season, aren't I? They're gonna draft fucking Daz Newsome above Rondell Moore, Rashad Bateman, and not Elijah because he's from the SEC. Oh my God. My God. This isn't. I mean, I've hoped so hard for so many players from the Mountain West Conference, to be honest with you. And there was no hope. There was never any hope. Dang. All right. New plan. There we go. That's my prediction for who gets drafted in the first 3 rounds. Just those guys. If Anthony Schwartz gets drafted above Moore, I might lose my shit. Not that the NFL particularly care if I lose my shit. Nor should they. But it's probably going to, I would imagine, be fun podcast listening. Oh, come on now. At least Elijah Moore's in there, I guess. I mean, if you want to know what, like, here's a percentage of wide receiver breakouts, and here's a percentage of draft capital spent. You see how they did not align at all? That's the definition of bias, not process. And like, mm, mm. And yeah, you just scan over, and there's all the hit rates that you could be having. Did we get this? It's actually pretty disappointing. Oh, we can go further. We can get rid of the East. I really don't care about the East as much as the West. Elijah Moore's still in there. We're doing okay. But Anthony Schwartz is going to get draft capital, isn't he? We're going to have to deal with Anthony Schwartz. Devontae Smith. Well, odds are he's going to get opportunity thrown at him. And Seth Williams. Gotta go. See you later, Guy. No problem. Thanks for joining. Enough to make a man want to drink. Here's the nut thing about this. I think we do better at prospecting than we can say. Because I think a lot of these players from conferences the NFL doesn't care about are good. And we'll never know. You just never know. DeMarcus Lodge, man. Gotta remember that name. He didn't get draft capital, to be fair. All right, I think I'm out of here. Main takeaway is that apparently Kyle Pitts is good. I think that's the main takeaway from today. Appreciate you two listening in to the end. Yeah, hit me up. Let me know if there's something else I need to be doing in there or could be doing in there, or anyone that you want me to look at. Stuff like that. Really appreciate the rush of recent support. I hope it's followed by a rush of new follows to everyone I've got in the sources tab because they're wizards and, you know, true grinders and nerds, as I'm more just a fake nerd. So. All right, guys, appreciate it. See you next Monday. I'm going to try and make some new videos, probably first of the profile videos, maybe this week. And no, we'll see. It might just be another conference rant. I don't know. This is my new hell. Looking at conferences. I mean, I'm half a step away from not just doing undrafted free agent matters hashtags, but Big Mountain West matters. You know, that's the new hashtag. Big Mountain West players matter. Maybe, or they might do if you drafted them, or you know, let them play. Big Ten West. Go big team. Big Ten West. Team Big Ten West. There you go. Hang on. Makes me wonder how many of those later drafted players actually come from these conferences, which could mean it's a great year for wide receiver value, second round of rookie drafts. You know, that might be a takeaway that is of value. I mean, Stephon Diggs, Tyler Boyd, these guys came from the Big Ten that the NFL doesn't like. Allen Robinson. He was pretty highly drafted, though. And no, I think that might be the takeaway. Good wide receiver value in years where the best players are in these disliked, undervalued, underappreciated conferences. Oh, that might be a 2021 draft take. I like it. I'd rarely have those. All right, I'm leaving. I'm tired. I need to pee. I need to go places and see my family. Appreciate it, guys. And I'll talk to you again next Monday and probably in some videos and a podcast this weekend. Thanks again. And see you later. Bye, J Mike. Bye, Guy. Bye, Mark. Jojo, thanks for the history lesson, by the way. GZA Ma1. Crossover, as always. I really appreciate it, guys. And I hope to see you again next week. Thanks. Bye. I don't know how this works. I'm trying to